Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good morning, students, and welcome to our fifth lesson of physics. Today, we are going to discuss a topic which is relating to our daily life, that is work, energy, and power. This is the topic, and we will discuss these three things in detail, one by one. Today, we are going to discuss about the work. But before discussing the work, a few things which we have learned before in our previous lessons, in our face-to-face classes. That is number one, the motion. Whenever an object is in motion, what is the cause for that motion in the object? This is actually the force which causes an object to move. When we apply a force on an object, then object starts to move in the direction of the force. This is the thing which we have discussed in our two topics in previously, that is the dynamics and kinematics. Then the next thing, what do we mean by a force? Force is an agent which stops or tends to stop the movement of an object, or it produces or tends to produce the movement in an object. And simply we can say this is a push or a pull, which is exerted by one object on the other, and the effect of that force that it either produces a movement or it tends to stop the movement. Then when an object moves from one point to another, from A to B, then there are many different paths to move. This is the first path, second path, third path. And we have learned about that whenever an object moves through different paths, then the total length of that path moved by the object is called the distance covered by the object. But there is a single path which is the shortest between the 2 points, that is directed from the first point to the second one, and this directed or shortest path is known as the displacement. So quantities upon which the two quantities, the force and displacement, which quantity is there which depends upon these two factors. Actually, whenever a force is being applied on an object and the object is displaced from its original position, from the initial to the final position, then we say that work has been done by the force. So work is a quantity which is defined as that the transfer of energy from one object to the other. Force is being applied on the object, energy is being transferred from the applicator to the object, and then the object starts to move or it starts to decelerate. So the work done is actually the transfer of energy, and work done depends upon the two things, that is the force applied and the displacement of the object. So we are going to discuss this work now. First of all, we will define it. Then we will learn how to calculate the work done whenever the force and displacement of the object has been given to us. Then what are the units of the work? And the fourth one will be the cases of the work. What is the nature of the works when the forces are acting on an object? So taking a start, what is work? Work is said to be done when a force acts on a body and moves it through a certain displacement. Say an object having a mass m is at its initial position, a force is being applied on it, and the object covers a displacement in the direction of the force. Then we say that force has done some work. Then the work, mathematical form, if force is applied on a body, it is actually the definition of the work. If force is applied on a body and it moves the body through a displacement d, then the work W is defined by the relation W is equals to F into D. F and D means force and displacement are being multiplied, and their product will be equals to the work done. So the scalar and the vector quantities, which has been discussed previously, what is the nature of the work? It is scalar or vector. The work has no direction because the two quantities in it, the force and displacement, it is actually a scalar quantity because the work done doesn't require any direction for its description. So the mathematical form or the formula to calculate the work is F into D, force into displacement. Then what is the unit of the work? As a unit of work is joules, and it can be deduced from this formula F into D, F in newtons and displacement in meters. So actually Newton meters is called 1 Newton meter is called 1 joule. So what is 1 joule actually? When a force of 1 Newton moves a body through a distance of 1 meter in the direction of the force, then the work done will be equals to 1 joule. So normally the unit of work is being presented in joules, not in Newton meters. But if anybody presents the unit in Newton meter, it will be okay. But be precise and always try to use the unit joules along with the work done. Then the cases of the work, there are actually the three cases: positive work, negative work, and zero work done. When we will say the work done is positive, then when the force and displacement are in the same direction, means the angle between the line of action of force and the displacement is zero, then the work done will be equal to simply F multiplied by D, and this will give us the amount of work done, and this will be called the positive work. Then it is actually the definition of the positive work. In this case, work done is maximum, and it will be equals to the product of the magnitude of force and the displacement. Then this is an example with the help of a figure. In this case, the displacement is rightwards and the force is also acting rightwards, so the work done will be positive. Then the second case is zero work. When the force is perpendicular to the displacement, then the work done will be zero. Means the angle between the line of action of force and the displacement is 90. Then the work done will be equals to F into D. S or D are two symbols to present the displacement. So F into D will be equals to 0. And with the help of figures, if we see that any person is carrying on a bucket full of water, here the force is being applied in the upward direction to carry on the bucket, but the person is moving horizontally and the displacement will be horizontally. So the angle between this displacement and the force will be 90 degrees. So here the work done will be equals to 0. Second one, if two trunks has been carried out or by a person, then the force is being applied by the person in the upward direction and the person is moving rightwards. Here the angle between the displacement and the force applied is again equals to 90 degree. So here in science, in terms of physics, the work done is equals to 0. Then the third case, that is a negative work. When the force and displacement, they are acting in the opposite direction, means the displacement of the object is in the opposite direction of the applied force, that is the angle between them is 180 degrees, then the work done will be equals to negative FD, means the work done will be negative. So with the help of figures here, if we are going to carry on some books, if we will have to lift up some books, then here we are going to apply the force in the upward direction and the weight of the books, that is the force, is acting downwards and the books are being lifted up by the person in the upward direction. So the work done by the gravity, that is the weight of the books, and work done by the gravity will be negative, as gravity is acting downwards and we are lifting the books upward. the work done will be negative. But if we consider the work done by the force applied by the person, then the work done by that force will be positive. The work done with respect to gravity is negative, but the work done with respect to the applied force by a person to lift up the books is positive. The second example is if a force is going to push a block rightwards, then a force is acting between the block and the surface, which is opposing the movement of the block, that is the friction. It is always acting, friction is always acting in the opposite direction of the movement of the box or the moving object. So the work done by this frictional force will be negative, because here the angle between the displacement, that is the movement, and the friction is 180 degrees. So the work done will be negative. So boys, here is a summary now. What is the work? What is the unit of work? If we are going to define the work, it is a product of displacement and the force along the displacement. Unit of work is joules, and positive, negative works. If the force and the displacement are in the same direction, then the work is positive. And if the force and displacement are in the opposite directions, then the work done will be negative. And zero work, that is if the force and the displacement have an angle of 90 degrees in between them, then the work done will be zero. Here is a question for you. Explain the given figure. Here a person is applying a force on a wall. What will be the work done? The force is not going to produce any displacement here. So as displacement is zero, so the work done by this person will be equals to zero. That's all for today. See you on the next lecture on Wednesday again. And we will try to just explain now the energy in the next lecture, and almost energy, types of energies, and law of conservation of energy we will discuss. Up till then, take care of yourself. Thank you, and see you again on Wednesday. Allah Hafiz.